Okay, so in this video, I'm going to really quickly show you how to have a kind of a ghostly handprint or anything you want that is not visible under UV, regular light, but when you showing a UV light on it, it shows up as green, whereas the ground and surrounding terrain shows up as purple. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is create the handprint, and that's just whatever it is that you want to be invisible. Except under the light. So let's start with a sprite and drop that over here in front of our player. I just have this goofy little like fingers, like ghostly fingerprint sprite, but obviously you can do whatever you want. There's really no constraint. I'm gonna blow it up to make it a little bit more visible, and yeah, I know it's blurry, but you know it's fine. It's just an example. And then the next thing I'm going to do is start setting up our lights. So normally in this kind of game, you have like a regular flashlight and a UV flashlight, and we only want to show up on the UV flashlight. So let's create two lights to simulate that. So these are both going to be spotlights, and we're going to pull this over here and make it a little bit longer range. And if we turn on the preview up here, well, so one problem is it's very bright. It's not being shaded or anything. So if we come over here and under flags, you can turn on shaded. And now when you have a light on it, it's a little bit hard to tell, but it's being illuminated. And the reason it's hard to tell is because there's this kind of sun acting right now. So if we make this a bit darker, then we can see, here's it's being lit by the light here, which isn't what we want yet, but bear with me. So we'll rename this to visible light. So the next thing we want is let's duplicate this and call it UV light, and we'll duplicate it and we'll kind of pull it over to this side. You can see they both kind of cover part of the thing, and let's change the color on this to make it a little more UV-ish. Let's like this. Usually, this kind of this lovely purple is kind of more common here. So if we turn this off, we can see this, but there's still too much light. So I'm going to create a environment node and plop an environment in there, and we'll set the background to black, and the ambient light is also black. Or you can also do disabled. Unfortunately, that is one constraint to this approach, is that if you use ambient light, it will actually illuminate everything, including this handprint. So it actually has to be off. So now we have it lit up like this. But if you think about it, you don't want these lights to affect this sprite, especially the visible light one. So the way you can do this is if you go to light, and the color mask, it's a little bit hard to tell, but these are all on. Like this is what off looks like. This is on, and this is saying light every single layer. And we're gonna say, we can rename the second layer to UV or something. And now we say, okay, well this can't light the UV layer, and as a trick, this light actually can't light the UV layer either, because we don't want to shine purple on it, we want to shine a different color on it. So on the sprite here, we need to move this to the UV layer. So if we make it only on the UV layer, now it's still being rendered, but it's not being lit by these lights, and that's fine for now. But what we want to do is when the UV light shines on it, it kind of glows a bright green. So there's one more trick here we can do. And you can create kind of another light on top of the UV light, and we want this to be our kind of UV reactive lighting color, and we'll make it a nice bright green, and we'll turn it on for the UV layer. And this will give us what we want. And then you also want to, notice when you turn it off, it also lights up the ground, but we don't want to light up the ground. So we want to turn off all the other layers here. And now it's only lighting up the UV layer. And if you make it a child of UV light, then they'll move together. And now you can see when you turn it on and off, you can only see it. You can't see it with this light, but you can see it with this light. However, there's still this problem of it's showing up as, it's kind of there still. So the way you can fix this, first of all, we don't actually need this flag. But if you go into geometry and you do a material override and create a new standard material, and you pull in and apply this same sprite that was there before, that will apply it to the albedo, which is fine. I don't know why you need it in both places, but it seems to work better that way. And there's two things you have to do. First of all, you have to turn alpha transparency back on, and now we're kind of back where we were before. And then the last finishing touch is blend mode has to be set to add. And now it's invisible. It doesn't cast shadows, but usually these are against the wall, so that's usually fine. I don't really know exactly how those shadows will work anyway. But so now blend mode is add here, and when you turn on the light, you can still see it. And visible light doesn't help, but the UV light does. And to kind of prove this, you can turn all these off and you can run the game. And if you do visible light, you can see it's not there. And if you do the UV light, there you go. You can see it, and you can see the purple glow on the ground also. That's it.